episode of Starseed Activations. Thank you guys so incredibly much for coming today. And so we do want to start out with a comment. Today is World Peace Day. Peace be with us and our spirits. And so I second that and I say thank you so incredibly much, everyone, for coming together in the spirit of peace, love, and unity consciousness. Because when the people all start to come together as one collective, it is going to allow us to really make big changes to the simulation as we see it, the star people are saying. Now, the first question that came into our systems was, how did I, or how do you guys start communication with the star people? Now, I've said this on so many different live streams. The star people want open contact and communication with each and every one of us. They do not want to have one person as a spokesperson. They want to talk to each one of us because that's going to help facilitate telepathy becoming activated throughout all worlds and all people. So telepathy comes from the pineal gland. The pineal gland is basically like, it's kind of like your telephone. And so it gives you access not only into the astral realms, the dream time realms, it gives you access into manifestation abilities that are beyond our full understanding, even mine, they're saying right now, because I understand how the pineal gland is involved in the flicker rate. The flicker rate of the simulation allows us to be here, but it's like a picture with a picture with a picture behind it. That flicker rate, what we see is coming from the pineal, but the flicker rate is controlled by the emotions, which is coming from the heart chakra as a whole. Now, when we start to recognize that the process of visualization and the process of being creative and utilizing the imagination is key. Many times in the civilization, we are taught or programmed to shut down the imagination because it is time to grow up. Now, what I'm telling you guys is imagine. I really want you to see it as the sky is the limit and just imagine or dream big. Because the bigger you dream, the more that level of conscious focus and attention is going to allow that dream to spiral into your current reality systems. This is very important because if you can see it, if you can perceive it in your mind, it must, and I say this with 1,000% certainty, it must be real or it must be true somewhere in the universe. This is a solid fact because the universe is a form of a simulation. So actually, one of the next questions that came in was, is the Earth round or flat? This is a very good topic. Now, when we speak about the process of manifestation, what you perceive or can visualize or can imagine in its nature can be real in your personal timeline bubble. Now, I want you just to imagine, let's just take an artificial simulation. So let's say that we have the capability of putting a thing on our head and plugging ourselves into a video game. In your video game, your Earth may be flat. In my video game, it may be round. When we collectively come together, we co-create. That's when the lines get blurry, the star people are saying, because now it just depends on whose ever imagery or is bigger, but that also the co-creation has to be in alignment. Otherwise, the two people will come together to co-create and they will never experience the conversation of is it flat or is it round? It really is a simulation because I've seen the flicker rate. The flicker rate is how the world, and we see it, it's a simulation. That's it. So the Earth, yes, it's round. Yes, it's flat. Now, when we speak about other planetary bodies, that is because that is in our understanding. The star people flick in and out of the flicker ratio. They are above time and space. There's different dimensions. Dimensions has to do with that flicker rate. So you can open your eyes and you can see your world right now. When you close your eyes, you are changing the flicker, the picture that you see, it changes ever so slightly. There may be a hair changed, or there may be a color may be different. And then you're just not remembering it the way that it currently is. You'll remember it the way that your mind processes that memory. 75% of all memories are faulty. Everyone remembers the way that they are absorbing the information and encoding it into the memory grid complex. So when we have multiple people seeing the same exact experience and everyone remembers it differently, it allows us to kind of grasp the concept that we are all independently plugged into our own simulation. This is how it works. Now, when we start to recognize, and the star people are stepping forward, they're saying we need to be very careful telling people that this is a full-blown simulation, because there is also an aspect of God involved here. And so we want to be careful with what we do to our bodies, and we want to take this seriously, because just because the world flows or functions like a simulation does not mean that the life that you see should be taken for granted. It should be given its utmost opportunities, because there are other soul forms that come from the higher frequency realms, and those soul forms is like a waiting list to come here. So here is of high value, because here in this form of a simulation is where the soul form learns to grow and to raise in frequency. Now, many a times there is a certain level or density level in which the soul form will drop into the 3D reality. It must be in this octave. Now, it's not only the 3D, it's 1D, 2D, 3D, all the way up until 12. That octave is where we see the physical reality. It's the angels, it's the attachments, it's everything that we see here. The attachments are here because they latch onto us, so they are here. However, they are also connected to the octave below the feet. This is the dark realm, or the dark octaves. This is where dark matter comes from. If you imagine a toroidal field, that toroidal field is going to be light. Let's just say on the top, it doesn't really matter. And then it's going to flow through the 0 point, and then that 0 point turns into darkness. But then it loops back around, and it comes all the way back, and as it's like a cleaning process, the star people are saying, which allows it to clean and then come back to light, and then to turn right at the 0 point is like a gray area, and it turns right back into darkness. This is how the simulation flows. This is how every single thing, all the planets, all the people, everything that you see, this is how it works. When we raise our biological frequency, it allows us to tune in to a higher octave range. This is a baby step process. Many times the soul form must go through 4D, 5D, and climb up the ranks. Many starseeds have come here from a higher frequency realm. The higher frequency realm was 6, 7, and 8D. Some individuals, but it is a very, very rarity, have come from the 9th and 10th density levels, the star people are saying. Now, when we start to recognize the different densities, I want you guys to just imagine and visualize right now. Most of us here, we don't eat fast food. Now, imagine you just spent 2 weeks eating all salads. Now, imagine that you went and you ate a greasy burger and fries, and you had the Coke, the whole 9 yards. How is your body going to feel? It's going to feel very heavy. That heaviness, that's density. That's what that is. So the more and more we can start placing conscious focus and attention on what makes me feel lighter and brighter. The number one thing that we can do to feel lighter and brighter is to smile and laugh. Now, the human body, every single time that we hold a smile, it actually allows the biological form to retune itself to that emotional expression. So the emotional expression can also be by putting your hands together, by holding different chakra points. These are mudras. Now, when we connect the electrical circuits, it actually is summoning an emotion code. That emotion code is allowing us to change our body at the subatomic levels, because the subatomic levels are able to be encoded down to the waters of the body. We know that water holds memory, and because the water holds memory, it allows us to speak to the body and to start to program the body. Now, I know the sound quality, you guys got me because I saw the comment. See, I got to watch with the comments. Let me see. When we start to encode the biological form at the subatomic levels, it shall allow us to reprogram at the subatomics. And then because of the time-space delay, it means that we have to wait for the manifestation to actually come into our reality. This is okay too. Time and space, as we see it, as we perceive it, is simply something that is assisting us in our manifestations. If we were to hold a fear-based emotion, that fear-based emotion would resonate out. It gets encoded into the hair. The hair acts like your antenna. And then all of a sudden, that fear is going to trigger a manifestation to come into your physical reality. Now, when we start to reprogram and to really use the positive affirmations to say, okay, this is my cellular structures, but it is one level deeper than that, because we can also reprogram the DNA systems. Many times individuals think that we have to go and we have to utilize meditations in order to fully allow the manifestation or the programming to begin. That is incorrect. For every single moment that we are in the simulation is an opportunity for us to go in and reprogram. And so anytime we reprogram, we always want to use heart. We want to use the 0 point. So what the star people have me doing, they have me saying, I am love and light. And then I would double tap my heart. They would have me say, I am abundant, double tap the heart. They would have me say, I am blissful, double tap the heart. Now, when we double tap the heart, it is actually encoding that 0 point. So your 0 point is a tube that comes directly down, but the 0 point is in the heart. And that is directly, it's kind of like a little cross. It's the meridian and ley line crosses. It's inside the heart. It is directly in the middle of the 4 chambers the star people are saying, because it is all connected. Now, that 0 point is a little vortex energetic. That vortex energetic allows for access above time and space. So when we drop into the heart and we start holding a higher base frequency or higher emotional frequency, it shall allow us access above time and space, which is then we are available to instantaneously manifest as we see fit. Because if we have time and space, and then we have the ability to go above it. Now, let's see, what do I have? Just imagine this crystal. So this crystal, once upon a time, it was rough and it was taken from the earth. And then all of a sudden, time and space went on and on and on. Somebody took it, they sanded it, they polished it. They made it nice and pretty and like a pocket stone. Now, when we understand the time and space frequency of this, it's kind of like the age. What is the age of the crystal? You can project, this is called the experiential frequency. Experiences means age in star people language. And so when we understand, he's laughing at me. He's like, star people language? Okay, thank you, honey. Now, when we understand the experiential frequency wave, it actually allows us to go in, make changes and modifications to it. The changes and modifications, you can visualize it. How did it look when it was first in the ground? Then all of a sudden, we cast that energetic into the crystal, which is going to allow the crystal to change instantaneously. Now, you have to go into the 0 point to do this. Many times when we start holding many love and blessings and we start to really dive in deep and hold the higher frequency realms, it allows us automatic access into the 0 point. This is the reason why when you are very happy, time seems to go very, very fast. When you are very sad, time seems to go very, very slow. Because if you look at the 0 point and you see it as a frequency coming down, that 0 point it's a gray mark in between. And when we go into it, it is neutrality. So all of our experiences, all of the trials and tribulations that we walk, we have to hold neutrality, because when we hold neutrality, no matter how dark they are, and I've been through dark ones as well, it's okay. That's okay too. When we hold neutral to it, that is always the first step in healing. And so you always have to come to peace with whatever it is that you experienced in your lifetime. That's okay too. When we come to peace, then it will allow us to start the healing process. And so we go through the darkness, we tune into the 0 point, and then we start loving and lighting ourselves. And I love myself, even though I've been through that darkness. This is a natural process of healing. We know this because we go through it and we just don't realize that we're going through it. That's okay too. Now, the second that we become consciously focused on it, it will allow us to actually dive in deep to the 0 point and start neutraling out all of the memories and the experiences and the emotions. Even if it is a hard emotion to release, still dropping in and say, it's okay. It's okay. Because the more you speak to the body, the more it's going to program the body. All of these emotions are encoded in the biological form. So your body is holding the emotions. So if you tell or instruct the body it is okay to release these emotions, then all of a sudden the body's going to say, oh, it's okay. Then I'm going to release the emotion. And then what's going to happen is you are going to start feeling a weight lifted from off your shoulders. Now, many times we wish to speak about attachments. And so attachments are the same exact thing. They are messengers of a lower frequency range. So if we ever say something like, I'm sad, that sadness opens the door to allow an energetic being to latch onto you. And then that energy is pulling from your energy field. And so it's going to keep pushing that emotion of, I'm sad, I'm sad. This, when we start to recognize that we are running an emotion code, any emotion code, if it is not healthy and for your best and brightest, tell it to get off and go home. When we tell the emotion code, I don't need to experience you anymore, get off and go home, you may have to do it a bunch of times. Sometimes the attachment is still latched on in rare cases, but sometimes I see it. So you just keep telling it over and over, get off and go home. And then all of a sudden, one day, it's just going to stop. Now, many times when we have death attachments can latch on to us, and then they can stay on for good 10, 20, 30 years. If anyone has ever seen someone who was an alcoholic and then they went sober for 30 years, and then one day they had the intuition, that's because there was an alcohol attachment still on the field that was never properly cleared. When we start to clear the attachments, it's going to allow the healing process to come much faster. Now, those attachments or messengers, the star people are saying, are of the negative polarity. That's the ones I was talking about. There's also positive ones. The positive ones we know as angels. Now, a positive messenger can be anything. So let's say you guys had an experiential, so something that you wish to manifest. So let's say you were standing at a beach watching the sunset. That's a beautiful experience to have. I want you guys to start closing your eyes, visualizing it, and just ask the positive messenger to help you manifest it. A door will open in the star field. The star field is your life experiential field. It kind of looks like a bunch of crosses on a field, but the center of them look like stars. This is what the star people call this. When you start to say, thank you for granting me, or thank you for giving me this experience, a positive messenger will latch on and it will start triggering that experiential into your field. This is how we know it as manifestation, but this is how it works behind the curtain. I'm privy to it, so I know that this is how it works. So when we are able to do things like every hour on the hour, just drop into the heart and just ever so gently just shine love and light, even if it's only for 1 minute. Think of something that you're happy and grateful for. You're going to be triggering an emotion of happy and grateful. The more and more you are capable of triggering happier emotions, even as we are walking through sheer darkness, that's okay too. But the more we are capable of projecting happy emotions, it allows our manifestations to be of a more positive frequency. Beautiful. Facebook, how is the audio now? I hope it's like magically fixed. If everyone just wants to go, thank you, YouTube, Facebook, for healing the audio, right? That's perfect. Okay, so we also had a question come through about gatekeeping. So I don't personally gatekeep any of my information because I don't really feel like it is mine. I feel like it is the star people's, and it is here for all of humanity. So it's still not working. Darn. I don't really know. How is YouTube? Hopefully YouTube works. That's the one that's recording. So it's a little staticky. Okay. I mean, I could probably restart if you guys want, or if you're good listening, I'll just continue. On YouTube, I'm Tree of Life Organization, but in between each word is a tiny little dash. If you go to daniellelipton.com, there's all my social links scroll, so you guys will be able to see. Okay, perfect. So YouTube is fine. That's a good one because it's recording. Okay. Now, I don't gatekeep any of my information. And so I don't really, it is what it is. He's stopping me from saying that. That's wonderful. I don't gatekeep any of my information. So my entire book is actually on Facebook. You just have to scroll way, way down, and it's written each and every post, and then I post them out for everyone to read. So we had a comment coming in that said that they wish that they could have more access to my information without paying a subscription and a service. YouTube, there's over 100 and something videos on YouTube. All the information is right there. You guys are perfectly free to go and listen. And not only that, but if you mail or email in questions, I take the questions, I write them out, and then I do it on the live stream. So that way everybody can have the answer. And that's what I encourage you guys to do. If you guys want to record the videos, take them, save them, share them, that's fine too. right? The information is to wake up the light workers, and it really is to activate the extrasensory abilities in all people. Now, when all people become fully activated, especially the starseeds, we have a leg up because we have assistance, but they are helping all people. Now, when we start really activating our extrasensory abilities, it's going to have the potential to change the entire world as we know it. Just think about what the consequence would be, or the change would be, if people started moving items with their mind. Just think about what the change would be when everyone was able to change or modify the weather. We're able to do these things right now. I've seen them done. They're here. We can do them. Now, when we start to dive in deep, we have to really go inside of our body, and there has to be a reason to actually activate. So many times when the fight or flight systems of the body becomes activated during a crisis or whatever it is, then the body starts to go into an over response, and it starts to activate crystalline DNA systems, which allows these different senses to automatically activate for us. If you guys have ever heard the story about a young child or a teenager and a car fell on like his uncle or somebody, and then he was able to muscle up super strength and lift the car off of the uncle, that should be impossible. But his fight or flight systems became activated. Now, through certain breathwork techniques, Wim Hof has a great one where he's utilizing cold ice baths and breathwork to activate the fight or flight systems. There's a lot that can be done, because I even do the ice baths this past like 2 weeks with my Starman. And when I was doing the ice bath, you can feel yourself pull back from the simulation. That's because your fight or flight systems become activated. There's different monks who meditate, and when the monks meditate, it actually allows them to broadcast the chi energetic system, generating heat for the body. So they'll put them in ice boxes, and the monks are perfectly fine. They don't get frostbite. It's absolutely amazing. So the human body has more capabilities than we have been told. This is scientifically a fact right now. Now, we can also start to talk about telepathy. Telepathy, if you've ever had an intuition that someone was going to show up, or you had their name in your mind and then all of a sudden you ran into them, that is a telepathic form of communication. Each human being on this planet and on every other planet, we also have the ability to see into the future. Now, we have put different not me personally, but humanity has put brainwave readers on people, and they've shown them images, and the images flicker, and then the person will fire off a brainwave patterning of either a negative or a positive frequency before that image is shown. So that right there is proving to us that we see things before they are actually in the physical reality. Now, what the star people are stepping forward saying is that that is because the image is a manifestation. Because if that individual had the knowledge, they are able to go inside and they are able to change the image before it actually manifested on their screen. This is how the system works. This is why we keep telling you guys it's a simulation, is because when we fully are activated, we are able to make changes or modifications to the external reality as we see it. There's a lot of information that shows us that when we go inside and we start to grow and cultivate relationships with ourselves, it is going to allow us to unlock most of these latent abilities, along with solar energetic shifts. Now, the solar energetic shifts are allowing us access into higher frequencies. However, what it's doing is a baby step process of evolution. And so it is allowing us to dive and then rise, and dive and then rise. Now, what the star people call this is a physical week, a spiritual week. And so some weeks, in the spiritual weeks, you may notice that everything just falls into your lap and life goes really smooth. On the physical weeks, you may be focused on paying bills, washing your car, doing laundry, all things in the physical. When you start to pay attention to this, then all of a sudden we start to recognize, oh, okay, so I feel like I'm in a high frequency today, so it's probably a spiritual week. We start putting together the signs, but when you start to check the solar frequencies and the Schumann resonance, you'll start to put 2 and 2 together that, okay, my spiritual weeks, there is a connection between the solar energetics as well as the density that I currently am holding, because instantaneous manifestation abilities has a lot to do with being less dense. If we are less dense, That means we are made of more light, or we are of a lighter frequency. That is going to allow us to instantaneously manifest easier. Even though each person is instantaneously manifesting at every single moment of their complete existence, every moment. It's just a matter of, are you holding more density or are you holding more light? And it's perfectly okay. Does not matter where you are holding. If you guys saw my journey, I made a complete transformation between 2019 and today. I was a completely different person. So we should never discount anyone and their journeys. Now, the funny thing is that when an individual dives into darkness to extreme levels, many times we shun away from them. We want to just give space, or like it's a homeless person, whatever the situation is, we back off because their frequency doesn't feel too good. But the people who dive in the deepest have the highest potential to slingshot into the crystalline realms. So those people who go through the darkest experiences, they are to be saluted. They are to be honored, and they are to be thanked. Because when you walk through that level of darkness, the darker, the better, actually, because it allows you to tune into the higher frequencies. And then the higher frequencies is going to activate more of your crystalline DNA systems, which allows you to turn on more of your abilities. The whole system works as one, and it is all connected. Many of our experiences, they get encoded from the time of conception. And so you have, let me take a sip. We have a binary codex frequency. That is a primary light tubule that's in the center of the body. We have the experiential frequency, which is what experiences, how old do you have, and a location frequency. Where are you in the simulation? Your binary codex frequency gets encoded with your magnetism at the time of conception. So that frequency, it determines your magnetism as well as your electrical systems. When we recognize that certain experiences are magnetized to us depending on our emotion, we will eventually start going into the children and having intuitive vision to be able to see what experiences the higher self wish to manifest for them. Sometimes these experiences are not easy. Most of the time they are not easy. You get programmed before you come here, and then we walk the walk and we go through the experiences as we unpack and we unfold our life. That's okay too. The second that we can recognize or see reflections. Now, reflection is, let's say, for an example, you were programmed to have a dark experience. The people around you may start to give you signs or synchronicities that you are on a dangerous path. Those are reflections. The second that we become consciously aware, oh, these are my reflections, and I can see it in people, places, and things. So you may start to see notifications or the newspaper or something. It's a synchronicity. And then when you see that, then you'll know that you have to go in and you have to cross cancel the magnetism of that experience. And so what that looks like, let's say it's a car wreck. That's the only thing I could think of at this moment. I was trying to get something different. Let's say it's a car wreck. You're seeing car wrecks everywhere on the TV, newspapers, all the stuff. And then all of a sudden you have that feeling like, oh, maybe it's going to hit me too. That's a magnetism because it's an emotion. So what you want to do is you want to drop into the 0 point. And even though no one wants to get into a car wreck, you have to drop into the 0 point and hit neutral. That neutral is, thank you, universe. It's okay if this happens to me. Thank you very much for the experience. I love and bless my body. That is it. When you neutral it out and you solve it with I love and bless my body, you are adding light into the experiential. That entire experiential will cross cancel and then you won't have to do it. Now, of course, because of the way time and space works, we are going to have to encode it over and over and over again. It's going to be more than just once. But see how your body feels. Any magnetism is an emotion. Your emotions are stored in the physical structure of your body. So when we start to say, oh, are you holding an emotion? Everybody now just ever so gently close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath in and release. I want you guys to feel the emotion of love. Just allow it to wash over your entire body. Just ever so gently, just feel it. It's nice and warm. Now, place conscious focus and attention. Where in your body did you feel it? Most people, when we feel love, it opens the heart chakra and we'll feel it directly in the center of us, and it may even wash down the entire body. So now what you have just done is you have formed two-way communication with the body. So if you know how it feels to feel the emotional love, because now you're aware how your body feels, it allows you the access to start asking your body, well, how does fear feel? Is there any tension, any tightness? Do you feel weight on your shoulders? What does your body feel? If you feel any sort of tension and tightness, close your eyes, go right into the location and ask the location, what emotion is there? The star people will guide you guys too. If you just gently or humbly ask the star people, thank you for guiding me to clear the emotions. They will show up for each and every one of you guys. They know who you are. And we just ever so humbly say, thank you, star people, for helping us. Beautiful. When you start to ask your body, give me the emotion code. Then, just like we do, we clear the magnetism. I am neutral with this emotion code. A lot of times you will feel a discharge off the physical form. You may have had muscle knots on your back. When you go into each muscle knot, what's the emotion code? And then all of a sudden, I am neutral with it. A lot of times we can also use magnets. Magnets, emotions are magnetic in their nature. So if we are magnetic in our emotion grids and we take a magnet, the south side is going to pull the old emotion out, and the north side is going to push the new emotion of love in, because it's a magnetic frequency. Now, when we start to do this, it will allow us, and they're saying that for a trapped emotion, like a muscle knot, you want to rub the magnet at least 10 times. And then you want to also put your hands over it and say, I love and bless your body. Because you're taking your chi energetic systems, which are electrical in its nature, and you are also casting electrical. Now, the body's pH levels is key value too, because when the body's pH levels are properly balanced, it shall allow a type of voltage to enter into each and every cell. That voltage is what gives you the energy that your body needs in order to function in the physical reality. However, there are people who are able to cast electrical currents. There are people who are able to hold a light bulb and turn a light bulb on. There are people who are capable of making lightning bolts. These are all real. There are martial artists who are able to utilize the breath to transcend time and space. That's real too. Many times when we see different movies that portray extrasensory abilities, they are real. Because if you understand the way that thought forms work, any thoughts that a human being can have in this reality can be real somewhere or can be manifest into your current simulation. This is the way the universe works for us. Now, I say universe, but I mean simulation. However, we also have to keep in mind that there is a whole source frequency, which is God, in my perspective, maybe not yours, that's okay too. But there is a whole different aspect to this reality in which our higher self dropped into this reality to have the experience. Now, near-death experiences may also shift you into parallel realities. So sometimes we go through a near-death experience. Sometimes we open our eyes, we're still here in this reality. Sometimes we open our eyes and we're in bed the very next morning. All of these different expressions are available to manifest. Many times the light workers or starseeds will be shown these things so that they can transcend death. This is a very real thing that each and every one of us are going to have to do in time as well. When you lose the fear of death, it sets you free because you are no longer afraid. And that fear will always start a manifestation process. So when we come inside and we are at peace, then all of a sudden it is very liberating. But take care of your body. We do not want to exit this reality because we are going through the process of evolution, and the sun is going to be doing a solar flash in our lifetime, which is going to level up the entire planetary species as a whole, including the insects and the trees and all of the plants, everything, animals. We are all going to be evolved. We can see this happening already because if you see, there are love-based emotional relationships between insects and humans, animals and humans, like sharks. People are having relationships with sharks This one guy pulled a shark out of the ocean and he removed a hook or something, and now the shark follows him around. I'm like, I had no idea that a shark was that emotional and intelligent. Now, I personally scared a spider once, and that spider jumped. He jumped all the way up to my knee, but from the floor away from me. I didn't want him near me, but he jumped, and he jumped high. So that tells me that he feels fear. We have always been taught that, oh, they're insignificant, right? But they are conscious sentient beings as well. Now, when we start to recognize that even the animals and the insects are just a reflection of the frequency coming from inside myself, this is key, because that is going to allow us to see the animals from a different perspective. Would you want to be stepped on? No. Now, what if, and I'm just going to say what if, this is real in my reality, but I'll say what if. What if, as a conscious divine creator, when we went through a life review process, we had to see all of the animals and insects through their eyes to see their interaction with us? That is part of the life review process in my current timeline. That's okay too. So that makes you take a little bit more care with their lives, because if you kill something, you are going to have to see from its eyes, and you are going to have to experience their moment of death. That's okay too. There's different monks on the planet, and I had no idea why they would do this, but they were like, don't kill the ants. Don't kill the ants. And I'm like, they're crazy, right? Just put up the building already. And that's how we are told. It's a very low level consciousness when we think that way. But something inside of them told them, don't injure the ants, because we're going to have to experience their death. And so that's kind of the way that goes. Now, even if we tune into 5D frequencies, we raise above the moment of death, which is a blessing, because the second that we are above the moment of death, we no longer have to go through the death life cycle. Bam. When we go above the moment of death, it is going to allow us to be above time and space. Now, once again, this entire process goes with different yuga cycles. So we may go all the way up. We may go all the way up to 12D. And then we may sink down ever so tiny. It is not usually a huge fall like humanity has experienced in the past. Now, the memory complex and using it to activate emotions is key, because we are capable of manifesting anything at all. Now, one such way of changing the manifestation that you see is to dive into your memory grids. Your memory grids can include times when you were a teenager or even a child. Through different meditation techniques, you are able to take your conscious soul and your awareness. You are able to cast back into the past, because the past and the future is all happening right now. Right now, in this moment, this is the 0 point for all of us. Yes, the 0 point is located inside of the heart, but it reflects out into the entire world as we see it. Now, when you do different meditations, you can cast your memory, you just think, or your consciousness back in time, and you can make contact and communication with your younger version of yourself. When you come out of the meditation, you should have a conscious memory of somebody contacting you when you were younger. This is very true. This is all real. The way time and space works, it is all frequency, and it is all happening right now in this very moment. So the second we become aware of it, it allows us to make changes or modifications to the memory. Now, this is what we are actually doing. We are not actually diving into the past, because that's impossible. What we are doing is we are changing the memory grid complex that we are holding, allowing us to have the memory of that past experience. So in my mind and in your mind, when we do this, we are changing the memory when we open our eyes, and then it's like, oh, okay, someone told me that. However, this is also how we can make changes or modifications to the entire simulation. Because if your younger version of yourself actually listens to whatever advice that you were giving him or her, it'll allow you to timeline hop into a parallel reality in which you took the advice and your entire life has changed. Baby steps when we start doing abilities like this, because one change, it's like going left instead of going right. It could change your entire life. So, and then not only that, but the younger version of yourself has to agree to the change as well. And the younger version of yourself is controlled by the higher self. But this is very real. Now, we can also do this to the civilization as a whole. The civilization as a whole is going to allow us to make changes to big events. So, for example, and I know that this is hard to believe, to start people saying there's a lot of people who aren't going to get this part, but even things like 9/11, especially if we did this with the power of 3, with 3 or more dream walkers who are diving into the heart chakra and going back in time and changing or modifying it, it can be changed because it's only a simulation. And it's not only a simulation, it is a simulation of life. The reason why that one may potentially be blocked by the higher self as a whole, the star people are also saying, is because that jump started the process of evolution for all of us. And so there is a collective consciousness that we also must become aware of. And that collective consciousness irradiates out through all beings because all of our hearts connect. Now, if we take the rhythm of the heart, we can scientifically see when one person is meditating, they are sending off a higher frequency, which allows the hearts to go into a form of rhythm together as one. When we have a tuning fork across the room and we have a grand piano, if the tuning fork is a C and you touch the C note across the room in the grand piano, then that tuning fork is going to start to vibrate. That's how this process works. All of our hearts are the same note. It's the same exact thing. When we resonate a frequency, there's a frequency match to us. Many times, if someone really stressed or strung out comes into the room, we're going to feel it right away. And that's because it's a frequency and we feel it and it won't feel good. But let's say somebody really positive and loving, caring, kind, and very bright walks into the room. You may feel your entire body shift or fill with love and light. And that's wonderful. We want more of that experience. And I encourage each and every one of you guys to just drop into your hearts, shine love and light, and just do good deeds for each other, because it's by being positive and loving, caring, kind, that is how we come together as one tribe, as one unit. And then we will start to see unity consciousness become activated on a global level. I'm already seeing unity consciousness in my reality. I personally am already seeing people activating their extrasensory abilities. I'm seeing more and more people who contact with me are coming into communication with star beings or even the angelic realms. A lot of you guys have angel guides, and that's beautiful. And I'm also seeing people do amazing things and activating extrasensory abilities, which is, it's amazing. And it's just, I'm so blessed to be able to see all of this like magic waking up. And it just to think, years ago, this for me started off like a manifestation. And I did it over and over and over and over again. What I did was I sat there and I imagined magic coming to earth. And I imagined it like throwing purple grapes. And so it was like a purple circle that would land on the earth somewhere and then explode. And then all of a sudden that purple coloring was activating the pineal glands and everyone was activating their extrasensory abilities. I did this a million times, I must have. And then little by little, it started to manifest into my current reality. Now, what was done when I was doing that manifestation was I was changing my magnetism, allowing me to shift into a parallel reality in which it became real for me. And so one of the things I like to tell people, if you don't believe in magic, you will never see the magic, because the magic is real. It is right here. And the science proves it as well, because when we take a look at sacred geometry and quantum physics, these are our scientists. These are the people who know science. And they are telling us there's a mathematical sequence of phi and Fibonacci that is guiding all living and non-living matter. There is also a symbol or sacred geometry symbol known as the flower of life. Each and every one of you guys should Google it, get comfortable with it, see it, draw it. That flower of life, if you took a strand of DNA and you cut it in half, you are going to see the flower of life. It's absolutely beautiful, because when we're able to see it, it proves to you that this is real. Okay, so there's a mathematical sequence as well in the body. When we start to recognize some of the ancients knew this knowledge, and I'm not even talking ancients in the sense of the pyramids. The Romans knew this because they were building their buildings using phi and Fibonacci. There's different types of imagery or paintings. During the day of Mozart and Beethoven, all of their music was also encoded with a scientific programming. We know this because people will tell you this. Oh, it makes you really healthy. It's like science. It's proper numbers. or whatever they say, right? But that's because it's done with Fibonacci and 5 sequences. Now, many of those people, they were very high in their level of consciousness. And so there's also indications that humanity was at a higher level of technology than we are right now, and that we were lowered and lowered again, and probably again. So that's okay too. That's right, is in my simulation. And so that does not necessarily have to be everyone's. Remember, some people are not going to have any of the knowledge that we have. That's okay too. Some people are going to remain very physically focused through, I don't want to call it the end times, but it's like the transformation time. They're not going to know what hit them. But so long as they are 51% loving, caring, kind, they will make it into 4D and then eventually 5D. The star people are also saying some people will make it into 4D and it's not a proper frequency for them and they may come back. That's okay too. Every single experience must be available to manifest. The source frequency runs through each and every one of our hearts. We connect in through the 0 point, but the source frequency wants to have every single experience here on the planet. Every experience has to be all potential. When we start tuning into the 0 point, it will allow us to become quantum beings. Now, quantum being is a very high frequency, which is above time and space. This is where the star people exist. Okay, I was going to say something. Different dream attachments are also available to manifest. He's showing me. People have the dream walker ability, and the dream walker, there's something just moved in my house. Hold on. It's like not a scary moment, but it's like, oh my God, something moved. Okay. Just take a deep breath. Sometimes crazy stuff happens. It's okay too. Okay. You should have seen the first video. It's so funny. It was like a big shadow that shoot on the wall. Okay. Yeah, he did. He stopped me and he's like, rebalance. Let's just take a step. Yes, the golden age is absolutely amazing, and it is upon us right now. So the golden age is actually not a golden age, they're saying it's a golden race. So when we start to tune into love-based frequencies, it allows us to become quantum, which is above time and space. When we start accessing that quantum realm, it allows us the ability to tune into all knowledge as an instantaneous download or upload, because you are able to pull knowledge that you need, or your creative abilities, you are able to cast the knowledge that you wish to see. It becomes an instantaneous manifestation. This is how we were designed to work. And Earth has been in a lower frequency for some time, that this is the reason for the entire Starseed program in my current reality. Now, in my current reality, they flooded the entire planet with so many starseeds that we were guaranteed to raise and evolve the entire planetary as a whole, as well as we can see the solar system, and we can see other planets have already gone through different solar flares. This is important to say because this is in my reality. This is what I see as my reflections, which is good, because when we start to share what we see, it allows us to come together and co-create this reality for everyone who is magnetically in alignment to receive it. So every single person who watches this podcast is going to have the ability to see, okay, this is what she's seeing. How can I see it in my life? We put all the pieces together, and then we co-create this reality for all beings to experience. This is the way co-creation works. And this is the way unity consciousness begins to form. It all starts with a conversation. A conversation is a thought and a word and a sound. And then the thought, the word, and the sound, along with the heart, the emotion, it starts to will itself into our simulation. Excellent. And there was 48 on the clock, right as I said that. Excellent, guys. Thank you so incredibly much for coming. We are doing the shadow work Zoom tonight, so that starts at 8:30. Okay. And anybody who wants to come, just send me a message through daniellelipton.com, and then I send you a complimentary Zoom link. It's good for every single shadow work Zoom that we have. If I'm not going to have one, then I usually post up on Facebook. We're not doing it tonight, but normally we try and do it. And then we come together as a tribe. And so we all come together to heal together and just to be one and to just raise our frequency and be family. It's fantastic, right? Together we rise. Excellent. You guys have a wonderful night, and I send you many, many love and blessings. Excellent.